Okay, we're reading another bedtime story. Good evening. I'm so glad you want to hear a story tonight. I have one for you. It's from Uncle Arthur's Bedtime Stories. This one's called Pearlie's Pennies. Pearlie was one of those lucky little children who lived by the seaside. Her home was only 10 minutes' walk from the beach. Almost any time she wished, she could walk along the seafront to go and dig in the sand. No waiting for months and months, while Daddy saved up enough money to take her there. The sea and the sand were almost at her doorstep. Wasn't she a fortunate little girl? One would think that having so many good things, Pearlie would have been the very best little girl in the world. Surely a little girl living so close to the sea would never be naughty. But alas, if the truth must be told, she could, when she felt like it, be the most disobedient child you ever heard of. Pearlie had a dear, kind mother, who did all she could to please her and make her happy. If anything, Mother was too good to her, and let her have her own way too much. But Pearlie somehow didn't seem to appreciate it. One day her uncle came to visit them. While he was there, Pearlie was the nicest child on earth, and, quote, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, end of quote. She was so good. Uncle was so pleased with her that he gave her a whole $1 and 10 bright pennies all for herself, and went away thinking that no uncle had a nicer little niece anywhere. This is the picture of her right there. But what a change when he had gone! Dear me, Mother asked her to lay the supper table. Don't want to lay the supper table, said Pearlie. But you must help Mama sometimes. Don't want to help you. You're always asking me to do something. But aren't you going to have supper as well as the rest of us? Yes, but I never get any time to myself. You're always making me work. Don't be foolish, Pearlie. Lay the table at once. Thinking she had gone about far enough, Pearlie began to lay the table, but with a sulky face and her lips pouting out almost beyond the end of her nose. At supper time there was another scene. Over the money Uncle had given her, Mother suggested very nicely that she had better put it in her savings, her savings box, so that she could buy something special for herself on her next birthday. Don't want to put it in the box, snapped Pearlie. But what do you want to do with it then? Asked Mother. Buy candy with it. Uncle said I could do what I like with it. But Mama's here to tell you what is best. And you always say I have to put it in my box, and I never have any pennies to spend, and Pearlie began to pout worse than ever, and sat back in her chair so far that she seemed almost to disappear under the table. So here's the picture here. There you go. Mother took her upstairs and put her to bed. But it didn't seem to make any difference. All next day she was the same. By dinner time, Mother was so tired of her that she said she had better go for a walk by the sea and let the wind blow the crosses out of her. Pearlie agreed to this suggestion quickly, thinking it would save her from helping Mother dry the dishes. Goodbye, dear, said Mother, and do come back good. You can walk along the front as far as the pier, but don't go on the pier or in the breakwaters. All right, Mama, said Pearlie. Goodbye. Gaily she trotted along the promenade, watching the waves roll up along the shore and stopping now and then to talk with other children who were playing on the beach. After a while she reached the pier. She'd often been on the pier with her mother, and enjoyed it very much indeed. She could never understand why she was not allowed to go on it by herself. And as she came up to the entrance this time, the thought came to her, why not go on now? Mama will never know, and I shall have a really nice time all by myself. I wonder how much it is. She looked about and saw a notice, admission, 10 cents, children half price. She felt in her pocket. Hurrah! She had brought all her pennies and the dollar as well. Of course she wouldn't spend that, for she really wanted to buy something nice with it. But the pennies, well, no one would know. So she used 5 of her pennies to go into the pier arcade. Once through the gate, she felt safer. Mother would never be able to find her now, she thought. She could spend the rest of the pennies as she liked. Soon she saw a chocolate machine and decided that 1 penny should go there. She felt very proud of herself as she pulled out the little brown square of chocolate, and how nice it did taste. Then she saw a weighing machine and thought it would be nice to feel what it was like to be weighed. Here's the picture there. Let's see. She put in her penny and something went wiggly, wiggly, woggly in front of her, and that was all, except that she heard her precious penny drop down somewhere inside. It was rather disappointing. Then she spied a machine that she had a little gun inside. This looks exciting, she said to herself. Pushing her penny into the slot, she pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. She pulled in again and banged the machine with her hand, but to no avail. Then she noticed a slip of paper inside with the words, "Out of order." Keenly disappointed, she walked on. Her next penny she tried in a machine that offered to tell her fortune. Out came a tiny slip of paper with a lot of small print on it that she could not understand. "Horrid old machines," she said, getting as angry with them as she had been with her mother the night before. "You've taken 9 of my pennies, and I've only 1 left." How she wished she'd not been so foolish. But it was no use crying. They were gone. She put her hand in her pocket for the rest of her money, but she could not feel it. A fear came into her little heart that she might have used it all up, the dollar as well. Desperately, she pulled everything out of her pocket. Out came the chocolate wrapper, a piece of string, a glove, a paper bag, and lastly, a handkerchief. As she pulled out the handkerchief, there was a tinkle on the wooden boards of the pier, and away went her last penny and the dollar in different directions. The penny did not get very far. Pearlie watched it go into a crack in the boards and fall through into the sea. Then her eyes caught sight of her precious dollar rolling toward the side of the pier, where there was nothing to prevent it from leaping after the penny. "My dollar, my dollar!" cried Pearlie. On went the dollar, and after it went Pearlie. Here's the picture. Let's see. After it went Pearlie. So nearer and nearer it rolled to the edge, where only a chain 18 inches from the floor stood between the little girl and the water far below. "I've got it!" she cried, stooping down and stretching out her arm. But no, it slipped out of her fingers and slid over the edge. Grabbing at it again, Pearlie lost her balance and slipped under the protecting chain. Splash! When Pearlie woke up, she found herself in her own bed at home with a hot water bottle at her feet and a nice fire blazing in the room. Mother was sitting beside her bed. Pearlie began to remember things and put out her hand. Mother took it in hers. "I'm so sorry, Mama dear," she whispered. "I'll never, never, never be so bad again."